The old man counted the money 3 times before handing it over. $900. Every bill he owned. His hands shook, not because of age alone, but because he knew one mistake would leave him with nothing. Across the table, the seller smiled with pity. "You're buying the worst field in the county," he said. "Nothing has grown there in 30 years. People standing outside the tiny office laughed as the old farmer signed the papers. Some whispered that grief had finally broken him. Others believed loneliness had clouded his judgment. After all, 72-year-old Walter Hayes had already lost his wife, most of his savings, and nearly every acre his family once owned. No one imagined that a forgotten piece of land worth only $900 would soon attract scientists, reporters, and people from around the world. But before that miracle could happen, Walter had to survive the hardest season of his life. Walter lived in a weathered farmhouse at the edge of a fading farming community. The roof leaked whenever storms rolled through, and every repair meant choosing between fixing the house or buying groceries. Most evenings, he ate beans, homemade bread, and vegetables from a tiny backyard garden. His neighbors respected his honesty but questioned his stubbornness. Many had sold their farms to large corporations years earlier. Walter refused every offer, believing land carried memories that money could never replace. When drought after drought destroyed his remaining crops, the bank reclaimed nearly everything. The tractors disappeared first. Then the livestock. Finally, all but a single acre surrounding his home. Friends urged him to retire and move into town. "You've worked enough," they said. Walter always answered with the same quiet smile. "A farmer doesn't stop because life gets hard. He stops only when hope disappears." Hope, however, arrived in an unexpected form. During a county land auction, an abandoned field nobody wanted appeared at the bottom of the list. It had failed every owner for decades. Soil tests labeled it nearly worthless. Buyers ignored it completely. Walter stared at the map longer than anyone else. Something about its location reminded him of stories his father had told him as a child. Stories everyone else had forgotten. That evening, Walter searched through dusty boxes stored in his attic. Inside faded notebooks filled with his father's handwriting, he discovered old sketches of the valley before modern irrigation changed everything. One note caught his attention. "The low field holds water beneath the limestone. Dig only where the old oak once stood." Walter froze. The abandoned field contained the exact hill his father had described decades earlier. The next morning, he withdrew every remaining dollar from his savings account. The bank teller looked concerned. "Mr. Hayes, are you sure?" He simply nodded. By noon, the field belonged to him. The laughter began immediately. People drove past just to shake their heads. Some called him foolish. Others called him desperate. Walter ignored every word. Every sunrise found him walking the property alone, studying the ground inch by inch, carrying nothing but an old shovel, faded maps, and a belief that refused to die. Then, on the 7th morning, his shovel struck something no one expected. What Walter uncovered beneath that forgotten field wasn't gold. It wasn't oil. It was something experts would later describe as nearly impossible. The discovery would force universities, agricultural specialists, and government officials to reconsider everything they believed about the land. But first, Walter had to convince everyone he wasn't imagining things. If you've ever been told your dream was impossible, remember Walter's story. Sometimes the world laughs just before history changes. Stay with this story. Because the next discovery transforms one forgotten farmer into the center of an unbelievable real-life mystery. If stories about perseverance, hidden history, and ordinary people achieving extraordinary things inspire you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next unforgettable journey. Walter knelt beside the spot where his shovel had struck something solid. At first, he expected another buried rock. Instead, he uncovered the edge of an old stone marker, carefully placed beneath layers of packed earth. Nearby, the soil felt unusually cool and damp despite weeks without rain. His father's forgotten note suddenly made perfect sense. Beneath the limestone rested a natural underground spring that generations before had quietly nourished the valley until changing waterways buried its path. Working alone for several days, Walter carefully cleared the area. Water slowly seeped through the cracked ground, forming small pools where dust had ruled for decades. Curious neighbors stopped laughing and started watching from their trucks. One local farmer collected a sample and sent it to the county agricultural office. The results surprised everyone. The underground water contained a rare balance of natural minerals that restored moisture to the surrounding soil far more effectively than anyone expected. Within weeks, patches of healthy green appeared across land once considered completely dead. Word spread beyond the county. Agricultural researchers requested permission to examine the field. Reporters arrived with cameras. The same people who had mocked Walter now waited patiently outside his farmhouse, hoping to hear the full story. The research team mapped the underground spring and compared Walter's land with neighboring fields. Their findings suggested that decades earlier, construction projects had accidentally redirected surface water, hiding the spring beneath layers of compacted earth. Because everyone relied on modern surveys instead of local history, no one realized the forgotten water source still existed below. Walter's father had never forgotten. He had simply never lived long enough to prove his theory. Scientists praised the discovery because it demonstrated how traditional farming knowledge could complement modern research. Local officials created a conservation program to protect the spring and help nearby farmers improve struggling fields using sustainable methods inspired by Walter's observations. Visitors came from across the country to see the remarkable transformation. The abandoned field became a living classroom instead of an empty wasteland. Schools organized educational tours. University students interviewed Walter about patience, observation, and respecting lessons passed from one generation to another. When a national television network asked why he had risked his last $900, Walter smiled exactly as he had when neighbors urged him to give up. "I didn't buy broken land," he answered. "I bought forgotten truth." Those words quickly spread across newspapers and television broadcasts. People admired the discovery, but they admired Walter's faith even more. He never became wealthy beyond imagination, yet grants, partnerships, and fair offers allowed him to restore his farmhouse, repay old debts, and protect the land for future generations. The field that everyone dismissed became the symbol of an entire community's renewal. Long after the television crews left, travelers still visited the valley to stand where hope defeated doubt. They didn't come searching for treasure beneath the ground. They came searching for the reminder that wisdom is sometimes buried where nobody thinks to look. Perhaps the next overlooked opportunity is already waiting for someone willing to believe before anyone else does. If Walter's journey reminded you that persistence can outlast ridicule, share this story with someone facing impossible odds. Your encouragement today could become the reason another dream survives tomorrow. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoy inspiring stories of courage, resilience, and unexpected triumph, subscribe, leave a comment about the moment that inspired you most, and join us for another unforgettable story next time.